You ever walk into a room and realize you were only invited so they could forget you in real time? Yeah, that was me. Adrienne Wells, 46, retired Major General, 3 Medals of Valor, 23 years in uniform. And tonight, I was just the daughter who finally showed up. There was no name card for me, no hug, not even a polite "we saved you a seat." Instead, I was handed a folded program and told, "Table 17, by the kitchen, that way." The ballroom shimmered in warm lights and designer gowns. Laughter spilled like champagne. This was the gala to honor my little sister Clara's nonprofit, the Wells Foundation for Women's Empowerment. The whole town was here. Mayors, donors, family friends from country clubs I never belonged to. And me? I was wearing a dark navy dress, simple, clean, functional, like everything else I own. I scanned the room. My mother, Helen, stood near the stage, smiling the way she only did for flash photography. My father, Donald, nursed a glass of scotch, whispering with a city councilman. Neither looked my way. Clara? She was the centerpiece, literally. Standing tall in silver chiffon, perfect hair, polished speech, one hand waving while the other clutched a crystal award. I hadn't seen her in nearly 10 years. Didn't even know she had a nonprofit. Mira tugged gently at my wrist. "Do we sit here, Mama?" Our table was squeezed into a corner near the kitchen doors. Every few minutes, a tray of lemon chicken or creme brulee burst through. I smiled at her. "This is the best seat in the house, baby. We can smell dessert first." She giggled, but I saw her eyes dart to the tables up front, the ones with name cards, the ones with linen napkins folded like origami. We had paper napkins, no bread, no butter. One of my aunts passed by, did a double take. "Oh, Adrienne? I didn't realize you were still in the States." "I've been back for 4 years," I said calmly. "Oh, right." Then she looked at Mira. "And who's this?" "This is my daughter," I said. She blinked, then forced a tight smile. "Adopted, I assume." I didn't flinch. "She's mine, in every way that counts." That made her uncomfortable. Good, because this wasn't just a homecoming, it was the start of a revenge story, not one with fire or fists, but with silence, steady presence, and truth. The kind of revenge that doesn't come loud, it just comes last and undeniable. The lights dimmed. A screen flickered to life. Soft piano played while a slideshow rolled across the ballroom. Photos of Clara holding babies in foreign villages, ribbon cuttings, fundraising galas. The title glowed in cursive, "Changing Lives Through Compassion." And there, halfway through the reel, I froze. The image was blurred, slightly desaturated, but I knew it. That was me, in Kandahar, holding a toddler with dust on her cheeks and blood on my sleeves. They had cropped my face, removed the uniform patch. In the caption, it read, "Clara Wells, Frontline Humanitarian Efforts 2012. I didn't blink. I didn't gasp. I just clenched my hand under the table, feeling Mira's small fingers wrap around mine. On stage, my mother stepped to the mic. "Clara has shown us that bravery doesn't have to wear boots," she said with that practiced, honeyed tone. "Her work teaches us that real courage is soft, not loud, and certainly not violent." So a few heads turned toward me, just long enough, the way people look at something that doesn't match the wallpaper. My father raised his glass. "To Clara, the one who stayed, who built something lasting." The word "stayed" hit harder than a bullet, as if I'd left because I was selfish. Not because I was saving strangers while they edited family newsletters. The applause roared. I didn't clap. No one said my name. Not once. And then came the award. A velvet-lined box was brought out like a crown jewel. Inside, a silver Valor medal. I recognized it instantly, because it used to be mine. That exact one. I had donated it to the Pentagon Memorial Vault after retiring. Now it was here, trapped behind glass, with a brass label beneath. Presented on behalf of the Wells family, honoring Clara's spirit of global service. Mira looked up at me. "Isn't that your medal?" I nodded slowly. It was. She frowned. "Did they steal it?" I smiled tightly. They borrowed it and rewrote the story. And if you're watching this and your jaw's tightening right now, if you've ever had someone rewrite you out of your own life just to make theirs prettier, tell me in the comments, because I swear, sometimes silence hurts more than any insult, and sometimes you just need to know you're not crazy, that someone else sees it too. Mira leaned into my side. Why didn't they say your name? I didn't have an answer, not one that wouldn't crush her, so I just whispered, some people think if they ignore you long enough, you'll forget you mattered. But I hadn't. And now, neither would they. By the time dessert was served, some lemon mousse with raspberry garnish, I'd lost my appetite completely. The room had gone back to its hum. Champagne bubbles, clinking forks, polite lies. Mira was sketching on her napkin with a crayon she pulled from her purse. She'd drawn a dragon breathing stars. I smiled. That one looks strong, I whispered. She nodded. It's protecting the quiet ones. Before I could answer, I heard the shuffle of a chair, then footsteps, measured, military, familiar. They stopped just behind us. Major General Wells, ma'am. The voice rang clean, crisp, like a rifle salute in a silent chapel. Every head turned. Standing there in full army dress uniform was Colonel Daniel Hughes. I hadn't seen him in nearly a decade. He looked exactly the same. Straight back, squared jaw, the kind of calm that came from real war, not strategy decks. He stood at attention, saluted, and for a moment, the whole room held its breath. My mother froze mid-sip. My father lowered his glass. Clara blinked like her teleprompter had glitched. "Welcome home, General," he said again, with just enough volume to carry across the room. I didn't stand. I didn't return the salute. I didn't need to. Because he had just said the thing they never would. Said it loud. Said it proud. Said it in front of every single person who ever erased me on purpose. Mira looked up at me, eyes wide. Did he just... I nodded, smiling softly. He did. Then he turned to Mira. "And you must be Private Mira. I've heard about your field drawings." She lit up. "You know about my dragons?" He knelt, grinning. "I used to brief missions with your mom using stick figures and paper maps. Her legacy runs deep." He stood again, nodded respectfully, then disappeared just as quickly as he came. But the damage was done. Not to me, to them. The silence afterward was deafening. Not awkward, not confused. Exposed. You could see it in the way Clara clutched her award tighter, the way my mother rearranged her fork like it suddenly meant something, the way my father looked straight ahead, jaw tight, like maybe, just maybe, he realized what he'd lost. They'd tried to bury me under their version of the truth, but Colonel Hughes just handed me a shovel, and I was going to dig it all back up, piece by piece, because I hadn't come home to be forgotten. I came back to remind them who I really was. Later that night, back at the motel, I sat at the edge of the bed while Mira slept, curled around her dragon plushie like it guarded her dreams. I opened my old deployment trunk, the one I hadn't touched since retirement. Inside, a folded flag, a few medals, an old Kevlar helmet, and a manila folder labeled in my handwriting. Silent Rain, 2011. I hadn't planned on going down this road. Not again. But after tonight, it felt like the road had come looking for me. Inside the folder was the original letter, 3 pages long, the one where I took the blame for the mission that saved 37 civilians, including 11 children, when command had ordered a strike based on bad intel. I took the heat. My name. My record. Because the man who made the call, Captain Miles Bennett, never made it back. He bled out in my lap, whispering, "Make it worth it." I did, or I thought I did, until I saw that same mission listed on Clara's Foundation website, branded as her inspiration. The caption read, "Moved by family sacrifice and silent courage, Clara Wells founded this organization." My stomach twisted. They didn't just crop me out of photos, they rewrote my sacrifice, my unit's grief, Miles's death. And the medal? The one they displayed behind glass at the gala. It had been registered in my name at the Pentagon Archive, a restricted use honor, never meant for public display, let alone donation to a nonprofit for branding. But there it was, relabeled, repurposed, rebranded into something marketable. A clean war story with a prettier protagonist. I pulled up the foundation's IRS filings. It didn't take long. A $4.8 million donation had come in last quarter from a private defense contractor. Their tax write-off? Strategic humanitarian alignment with decorated military legacy. The attached PDF showed my medal, my photo, blurred just enough, and Clara's name in bold. I didn't know whether to scream or throw up. They didn't just disrespect me. They monetized me. They built a legacy off my blood in someone else's grave. And all while smiling for press photos with ribbon scissors in hand. That was the moment something shifted. Not rage, not even sadness, conviction. If they wanted to steal a story, fine, but they'd stolen the wrong one. And now, I was done being quiet. They could control the headlines. But I still had the truth. And it was time someone heard it. I didn't send out a press release. I didn't call anyone from the foundation. I just walked into the National Veterans Honor Conference with a folder under my arm and my daughter beside me. No dress blues, no medals on my chest, just a navy coat and 23 years of truth. Mira gripped my hand as we entered the auditorium, full of men and women who had seen things they still didn't talk about. People who didn't care about polish or podiums or gala spotlights. People who knew what it meant to be erased. I wasn't on the program. I hadn't asked for a time slot. But after a Marine finished reading a poem about the brothers he'd lost in Fallujah, I stood, walked to the mic. I looked out at the crowd, took a breath. "I'm not here to tell a war story," I said. "I'm here to end a lie." Then I stepped aside. The screen behind me lit up with footage. Time-stamped helmet cam from the Silent Rain mission, radio logs, coordinates, static, then, "Ro, if you're hearing this, I guess I didn't make it," came Miles's voice. You could have heard a pin drop. What happened in Kilo Sector wasn't clean. They were moving weapons through civilian routes. I rerouted. I logged everything. If command tries to bury it, tell the truth. Tell them I died, trying to protect the people we were meant to serve. I let the silence sit after his last words. Then a man in a dark blazer walked up to the mic, Department of Justice badge clipped to his chest. "What you just witnessed," he said, "is part of an active federal investigation into misrepresentation of service honors and suppression of internal military intel. Major General Adrienne Wells is a federally protected whistleblower. We stand behind her." I didn't say anything, but the crowd stood, one by one. No slow clap, no dramatics, just respect. And for the first time in years, I felt seen, not liked, not pitied, seen. Mira looked up at me, eyes wide. "Are they clapping for you?" I knelt beside her. "For me, for Miles, for everyone they tried to bury." Later, a woman approached backstage. Gray hair, blazer covered in gold star pins. She held my hand and said, "My brother was in Kilo. They told us it was a cleanup mission. Now I understand why he never came back." That night, I didn't go back to the motel. We stayed with an old comrade in a cabin just outside the city. Quiet, no cameras, no noise. But the storm had already hit. The next morning, headlines exploded. Foundation under federal investigation. 4.8 M, donation linked to misrepresented military records. Wells family tied to stolen valor scandal. Clara went radio silent. My parents left a voicemail. "We didn't know. This got out of hand. Please don't make this worse." Make it worse? They made it worse the moment they decided their version of my life was better without me in it. But here's the thing about truth. It doesn't need applause. It just needs daylight. And I had dragged it out of the shadows. With names, with evidence, with everything they hoped would stay buried. They stole my name from the story. I just wrote it back in permanently. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of what used to be the town's old library annex. Half boarded up, ivy clawing the bricks, shingles sliding off like forgotten promises. Mira tugged at my coat sleeve. "Is this it?" I nodded. It doesn't look like much now, I know. She tilted her head. It looks like bones. I smiled. Exactly. Bones means something still wants to stand. We were going to build something here. Not a museum, not a gallery, a truth space. Not curated, not sanitized, not for sale. Inside, the air smelled like dust and rot, but we didn't flinch. We carried in a folding table, some chairs, and a stack of documents that had nearly been buried by bureaucrats in board meetings. Mira sat in the corner with markers and started sketching dragons again, this time with names across their wings. Names of people I served with, people they never put in speeches. I looked at the worn floor, the cracked plaster, the blank walls. This wasn't a legacy built on press releases. This was something we were going to raise from the ruins, with real names, real medals, real memories. No filters, no applause required. Weeks passed. Volunteers came, some I knew, most I didn't. A woman who'd lost her brother in a mission no one would confirm. A man who left the military after being pushed out for who he loved. A school teacher who brought her class to help paint and asked, "Can we leave letters here for soldiers who never made it home?" And just like that, the annex became the Wells Archive for truth and service. Not a foundation, not a charity, just a place where you didn't need to be pretty or polished to be honored. Clara never called, but one afternoon my father showed up. He didn't bring flowers or apologies, just a photo. Black and white, grainy. Me in uniform, carrying a wounded child through rubble, eyes locked on the horizon. "I found this in the back of a filing cabinet," he said quietly. "I never showed it to anyone. I thought, maybe you'd want it now." I took the photo. He didn't ask for forgiveness, and I didn't offer it. Some fractures don't heal, but they stop bleeding, and that's enough. We hung the photo near the entrance. Below it, Mira wrote in marker, "Where brave stories live, even if no one clapped when they happened." And somehow, that felt like the truest thing I'd ever seen on a wall. That evening, we raised a new flag outside the annex, not a military one, not political, just deep navy, stitched with silver thread in the shape of a single word, seen. Because that's all I ever wanted, not praise, not press, just to not be erased. Later that night, Mira curled beside me in the cot we kept in the back room. "Did we win?" she asked. I thought for a moment. "We didn't lose," she nodded. "That's enough." I kissed her forehead. "For now, yeah, it is." I lay awake a while longer, staring at the ceiling of a place I used to pass by without a second thought. And now, it carried our names. Not for attention, not for revenge, but for truth. Because even when you've been written out, you can still write yourself back in. And that's the kind of revenge story worth telling. Have you ever had someone rewrite your story without you in it? Cut you out of your own moment just because you didn't fit the version they wanted to show? Tell me in the comments. I read them all, because these stories, we carry them in silence too long. But not anymore. Let's make sure we're not the only ones writing ourselves back in.